Hey, welcome to the Milwaukee Music Lessons podcast. My name is Alex Bennett.
And I'm Robin Bennett.
And we are here with episode number 5. As of the day of this taping, we are just about a month away from our recital for the summer. And so I thought it would be kind of a fun podcast episode to talk a little bit about bombing on stage.
Which hopefully no one does.
Yes, right. But we've all been there. At least if you've done any sort of public performance, like that, no public performance ever goes perfect, and some stories are better or worse depending on how you feel about it than others. And so I thought it would be kind of cool to talk a little bit about some of our stories with bombing on stage. But before we get to that, I thought maybe we would just take a little bit of time to talk about, like, everybody bombs on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you don't learn how to be good on stage without first failing and feeling that fear of, oh my gosh, what is going to happen to me now that I am completely worthless? And then you realize, oh, nobody cared.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of anxiety and pressure the first time you do it. And
for
I think not only just how many mistakes you make, because, I've got some doozies that we'll get into later, but just realizing how many mistakes people don't catch when you're up there too. I've had so many nights where I'm just like, gosh, I played terribly. And then nobody says anything. No
mentions.
Yeah.
Sometimes where I'm like, gosh, that just sucked so bad. And then people are like, that was so amazing. They like come up and shake your hand and like, you were great. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, definitely had those. So, but I think that speaks to something too, because I think most people who come to see you, even if they're strangers, like genuinely want to see you succeed on stage.
They'll forgive a lot.
Yeah, people are very forgiving. People, they want to see the best in you. Not to say that everybody's like that, but I think in our heads we think that it's like reverse. Like we'll think it's like 90% of people want you to
see you fail.
Yeah, want you, or at the very least want you to be perfect. And feel like they're under a magnifying glass or a microscope. But in reality, it's like the other way around. It's like 90% of people are forgiving. They want to see you succeed. They will always see the best in every performance that you do. And yeah, so I don't know. I think we've both seen that in our own experiences.
Definitely.
So, that being said, actually getting into do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Sure.
All right.
I'll go first.
Cool. So
I'm looking forward to seeing which ones I knew already and which ones I have no idea.
Okay. So I'll start with one that I thought for sure was going to be one that a whole bunch of people would remember. And it turns out nobody remembers it. So
except you.
Except me. Yeah, funnily enough. Okay, so there was a time I was playing with Gabriel Sanchez, local guy, runs the Prince Experience. Hi, Gabe. I miss you, buddy. I haven't seen you in forever. But I was in a power trio with him.
Right.
And I played primarily bass in there, but there was a couple songs that we would swap out for.
Okay, so you would play guitar and the other guy would play bass?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, Gabe and I would swap.
Okay.
Yep. And so it's just guitar, bass, and drums, Gabe, myself, and Scott Bellhumer. And we were playing at what used to be, it's now a Point Place Burger Bar, but it used to be Quaker Steak.
Oh, yeah.
And they had biker nights on Wednesdays there. Right? Yeah.
That's a fun scene.
I know, right? And so, when you think of, forgiving crowds, you immediately think like bikers, right? Yeah, absolutely. So we played Rocky Mountain Way. I don't know if you're familiar with the song. It's a Joe Walsh tune from the Eagles.
You're saying all these
words.
Rocky
Mountain Way is better than the way we had. Anyways.
Maybe.
Joe Walsh is a very prolific guitar player, and so there's a heck of a solo inside of there. A lot of fun to play around with. And so there's a lot of weight on you when you do a solo like that. And so when Gabe and I had swapped off, I normally what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take the guitar cable and you wrap it around your strap so that way it plugs, when you plug in, if you step on the cable in some way, shape, or form, it yanks on the strap instead of yanking out of the jack, right? Well, long story short, we skipped some steps. We had a little bit of a rush setup, and we skipped a couple things, and I found out that wasn't set up right in the middle of the solo. So,
oh no!
Yeah, so I'm in the middle.
You step on it, and the jack just came right out.
Just came right out, and of course, when that happens, there's this big loud buzzing ground noise that just goes, across the stage. And so, it would have been bad enough if I had just like stepped on it and pulled it out once, but I stepped on it 3 times.
Oh my gosh!
In one solo.
And you like stopped, picked it up, put it back in.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, buddy. That's
yeah. So after the 3rd time, I'm just looking back at Gabe and Scott and just going, wrap it up. We're done.
I'm finished. Stop the solo.
I've finished. We're going to the ending. And so, and then we get to the end, and there's a little like guitar shreddy thing that I do, and then the rest of the band, we do a big trash can ending or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so, at the very end, we go to do that, and I go to hit the last chord, and I do a little jump, and I stepped on it a 4th time, and so the song just ends with the cable just like hanging out, and so
none of mine are that bad.
I wish I could say that. I don't know if this is the worst one, honestly. I've got some pretty bad ones. I've got some pretty bad bombs.
I should have gone first.
I wanted to come out swinging,
I mean, you did.
Now, the funny thing about that story is that, so I have gone on the road with Gabe a couple times with the Prince experience. I'm not actually playing, mind you, just like as a guitar tech and helping out with like load-ins and load-outs and stuff. But I told that story to Gabe like a year later after it happened, and he had no memory of it. So the only 2 people who might remember are myself and Scott. So Scott, if you're watching this, you don't remember this story. It never happened.
It never
happened. These are not the droids you're looking for. Yeah. So anyway,
Fun.
so that's just one story I've got for you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. What do I got? I did all the musicals in high school, and for the most part, I was kind of, chorus background. My senior year, I had a lead, much to my chagrin.
Yeah.
And there's a song. So it was the musical Oklahoma. I was Ada Annie.
Yes.
And there's the song I Can't Say No. And we did like 4 performances. And I think maybe it was the first performance. It was either the performance that we put on in the middle of the day for the kids or the first like actual performance that I just forgot the words. Just plain forgot the words.
Blanked.
And just had to keep going. I had some friends in the pit, and sometimes some of the pit people would like feed me words. So that was pretty embarrassing. The other one was there's a scene that Lori and Ada Wanny do together. And it might be I Can't Say It, but I can't remember. And I'm like dancing with a broom.
Yeah.
And she's coming up behind me, but I can't see her because I'm like at the edge of the stage, and I take the broom and I go like this and I smack her in the face with the broom handle. That was a pretty good time.
That's great stuff.
That was a pretty good time. Sorry, Leah.
That's great stuff.
So that one was pretty bad. That was my senior year in high school, so that was rough.
Yeah.
Forgetting words as a singer always stinks.
Yep.
Because it's all you. And sometimes you can just sing another verse that you did before and just be like, all right, or skip a verse and move on. And a lot of times if you're playing with decent musicians, they'll catch on and just jump to it and be like, oh yeah, no problem. And they can really save your bacon if you have really good accompanists or a good backup band that you've been working with that just knows how music works, and they can really save you in those. But I haven't really had that many. I mean, I guess I've not really been on stage very much. Most of my time has been in group activities where if I bomb, you can't tell because I'm all the way back in the percussion section.
Yeah, you're covered by numbers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it gets harder the smaller the band is.
Yeah. When I'm like in jazz choir, that would have made, but we practiced so much.
Yeah.
That, by the time you get to the end of the year and you've been working on the same song the whole time.
Yeah. See, for me, most of my bands that I've been involved in have been 3 or 4 people in the entire band.
Right, yeah.
Sons of Scani now is the most that I've had consistently in a band, having 5 people. I mean, when we were the Toys originally, we had 6. So that was actually as big as it got for me. No, I mean, I've done other stuff, like when I was at Berkeley, we would do ensembles and things like that.
Sure.
And within those ensembles, I mean, you might have 8 people. Obviously we've done stuff at church too, where we've had 8, 9, or 10 people on stage. Thanks, Mike.
Making it easier for us to mess up without anyone noticing.
I love you, buddy. I'm just joshing you.
Pull your chain.
So, so for me, it's like most of my experiences though have been like a small number of people. So if somebody messes up, you're kind of on full display there. Yeah,
when I was in handbell choir, that was a bigger thing because even though there's a lot of people, you're the only one that has your notes. So if your note is in the melody or something and you don't play it, or you play it at the wrong time, or you miss it, and then you're like, oh, just kidding, and you ring it and everybody's like,
Yeah. I'll give you a story from recently. This is actually the last show that we just did here, right?
Oh, yeah?
So we were playing for the Tavern League of Wisconsin.
Oh, the Tavern League.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about this one.
Yeah. So the Tavern League of Wisconsin, we played on a Tuesday in Wausau. Very popular date.
Tuesdays?
Yeah, Tuesdays. And so I'd been having trouble in recent weeks with my in-ear pack. For those of you who don't know, when you're on stage and you're listening, you have a set of speakers that are pointed back at yourself normally. That's a kind of your standard setup. They call those stage monitors, right? But more advanced bands, I guess we'll just say, will use in-ear monitors. They're not very practical for a lot of bands because they're very expensive, but if you can afford them, they're super, super nice and you can do all sorts of things with them. And so we use in-ear monitors when we're on stage. And
so basically, instead of having a monitor wedge at your feet, feeding the sound back to everyone, everybody has an individual headset.
Correct.
And you can control what you hear.
Correct. Yeah. If you ever watch the professionals on stage these days, you'll see that they have these looping kind of like earbuds, except they're specifically designed for a very flat response, so that way you can hear everything nicely. And then they usually go like under their shirt, down their back, and then they'll have a little pack that goes down by their belt, and that pack is wirelessly connected with some sort of transmitter that's hidden on stage or behind the stage, or off somewhere that you can't see it, and then that feeds you the sound. And the cool thing about those, like, first of all, you hear everything better. Like, everything is crystal clear. There's no guesswork. People are more on pitch. People are more on time. You can tell when something's off or you're making mistakes or whatever. So it's just a better form of feedback. But there's also a whole bunch of like hidden things and stuff that you can do behind there. And so like in our case, we play with like sequenced lighting. So the lighting that happens on stage is like timed and pre-programmed to us. And the way that we have to play with that is we have a click track that goes in our ears that keeps track of like the tempo where we are in the song. So it keeps things nice and consistent. And that's really, really nice. And so if the problem though is that if something happens to your ears, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so I had this belt pack that kept flying off, and it fell off about 4 times during the show. And after the 4th time, it did not want to turn back on.
Oh, no.
And so we still had about 7 or 8 songs left, including a spot where I needed to swap. So Tim, the drummer, and I, we swapped places during the show.
And you play drums.
I play drums and he plays guitar, and we swapped for 2 songs. And so Tim was such a trooper. He did the entire both of his songs without any monitors. So that essentially meant that
shout out Tim, you're killing it.
So that essentially meant that he couldn't hear his voice. He couldn't hear his guitar that he was playing. He was just going straight off of muscle memory for 2 songs. And I was counting us in and out of the song because he couldn't hear like when the song was supposed to start.
Right.
So he and I are communicating like crazy on stage. And so that was a little bit of a nightmare. I mean, it wasn't as disastrous as my earlier incident with the guitar, but that's like...
You still feel the adrenaline and your heart is pumping. You're like, oh, crap, what am I going to do to fix this? Or how can we keep going? And I mean, it's a good thing you're both decent musicians where you can say, hey, my pack's out. I'll count the click out loud for the both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a lot of communication that's happening on stage, and nobody out in the crowd had any idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. Matt, one of our sound guys, was able to get me up and running for about the last 2 or 3 songs, which was really, really handy.
Awesome.
Because the first like half of the last set of songs is completely led by me on acoustic guitar.
Oh boy.
So that could have been really bad, but
yeah,
Matt's our sound guy. Shout out to him.
Lots of shout outs.
He wasn't even supposed to be at the show. He just showed up and was like, hey, I'm going to take... Yeah, because he lives up in kind of Green Bay area, and so Wausau's a bit further north, and so he was just like, I'm just going to stop by, and what a trooper he...
Thank goodness.
Yeah, what a trooper. He came by and helped us out, and that was a lot of fun, so...
That is
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But you were talking about lyrics and stuff before missing up. I definitely have quite a few of those. Like anybody who's come out and seen me play knows that I don't have a lot of songs that I sing lead on, which I'm fine with. Like I prefer more being the lead guitar, but I get about 2, maybe 3 songs if I'm lucky a night that I come out and sing. And so right now my 2 songs are I sing the lead for Enter Sandman.
Yep.
And then I also do the hip hop part for In the End. And I've had several shows now because In the End, the Linkin Park tune, if you, the beginning of both verses start the same, but they diverge in the middle. So like the beginning of both verses starts with one thing, I don't know why, it doesn't even matter how hard you try, keep that in mind because I designed this rhyme too. And then it's either explain or remind.
Oh,
and
okay.
If you get the first one wrong, everything that comes after that, it's like impossible to get back
to the other one.
But the hard part too is that Matt, not to be confused with our sound guy, Matt, our other guitar player, he sings the backup, on that, or at least, well, we exchange who's lead when and where, but like, because like the song starts with, it starts with one, like he comes in with that right away, and then he's interjecting every once in a while, and so my lyrics and his lyrics have to match up. And and there's been several times where I've gotten the beginning of the verse wrong. So like I'll come in with a second verse first, and then but like Matt's trying to get me back on track.
Sure.
But I can't get back on track.
It's one of those things where it's like, I'm down this path, I just got to keep going to the end.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
And yeah. And then we'll get to the second verse, and I'm like, okay, well, we did the second verse first, so I have to do the first verse now. But then we get those swapped up too, so we're like backwards for both verses. So it's just like one of those, like, how do you like wink, nudge, on
like
the stage?
Opposite.
Well, I come to the front, so he and I are kind of
Okay,
standing next to each other. But I can't grab the mic and like in the middle of the song,
be like, okay, now verse 1.
Hey, we're gonna swap the verses around, because like, that'd be so stupid.
It would be stupid. Oh.
Yeah. So I've definitely done stupid stuff like that before.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know, I'd have to watch it again. At my senior recital in college, I had to put together a recital that's half an hour long of just me singing. And one of my sets was basically a whole set of songs that are all in different languages. So I sang Italian, Swedish, Norwegian, and then I think I actually did an English one in that one. So I was singing in 4 different languages. And again, it's like if I start the verse and it's the wrong verse, I just memorize the words in that order.
Yeah.
I do not know the languages well enough to like, oh, I'm in the middle of the second verse. Let me just switch to the first. No, I got to just keep going with that one. And then hopefully I get to the other one. So there is like the Norwegian song that I did was Solveig's song.
Okay.
And that one too kind of begins the same way, but then you have to diverge into different words. I couldn't tell you what the Norwegian is now, but I mean, basically she's at the top of the mountain waiting for her love to show up. And she's like, well, if you don't show up, whatever, I'll see you in the afterlife. It's a very sad song, but I'm like, it starts kind of the same.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 verses that I had to memorize in Norwegian. So
do any of the professors speak Norwegian? Like they're gonna know if you
the one that I took.
So she knew if you got it out of order.
The one that I took Norwegian lessons from. She did all the Scandinavian lessons. So I did Norwegian with her and I did Swedish with her. Just to like get the pronunciation right. And I should have asked my grandpa, but it was fine. But yeah, she knew. I don't remember if she came to the recital. She might have. But
okay.
She's not work. She was one of those professors who she was in town for a while doing opera and whatever in the area, and she goes elsewhere doing operas in other cities. So she didn't stay for very long.
Okay, all right. That's what I was curious about. If you had somebody who was in the room who was gonna like deduct, she'd be like, "Oh, she swapped those 2 verses."
No,
like
as long as I kept going, and there are a couple of ones. Those ones specifically were the ones where my brain just like I blanked out and words came out, and I don't remember if they were the right ones or not. I do have the flash drive with the whole hour video on it, and I could go back and look, but I don't know if I want to.
All right, so I'm gonna end the podcast with one more more story. So the only reason I'm telling this story is because the people who were in this story I don't think will ever watch this or may not even be around anymore.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so because this is a story that my grandparents told me once.
Oh,
so
okay.
So I'm trying not to tell stories of like other people bombing on stage, but I think this will be kind of a funny one.
Okay.
So it's also kind of funny because it's got kids involved. So
oh, boy.
Back in the days, like in the churches, you'd have different events where the kids would come up and sing songs or whatever. Sure. And some of the kids who had better voices would get a solo performance. And so my grandfather told me this story one time about there was a girl at their church, young little girl who was they were singing, it was like Christmas time, and she was trying to sing Silent Night. And so she gets up and they start doing the accompaniment. And I can't remember if she was also playing piano and singing at the same time. But she starts the song and she goes, "Silent night, holy night," and then can't remember the lyrics after that. So she went back to "Silent night, holy night."
When in doubt, sing Watermelon.
All the way through. Well, it doesn't work if you're the only person on stage.
That's true.
But so she
Silent night.
Yeah, so
holy,
just
the whole
whole entire time.
Oh man.
Yeah, it just And apparently she was young too. You know, she's like 6, 7 years old or something like that. Like a little kid.
Yeah. Forgivable, as if I'm like
yeah.
beyond.
But that's the right kind of mistake on stage, because that's cute. That's adorable.
That is cute. Yeah.
You know,
it's like putting your dress over your head in the Christmas concert. You know, or we had a kid who was playing with his suspenders so much that one of them like popped out. Those are the things that you just live for at a kid's Christmas concert.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You wish you could sneak some wine in.
I watch some of the silly things that Jay does, and it just, bless his soul. So
that kid.
Anyways, I think that'll do it for today's episode.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. So for anybody who's watching this episode, especially if you're a kid going through the recital coming up soon, it happens. It's
Keep
a part
going.
of it. Yeah. You know, the people who are successful at what they do, they are people who have failed a lot.
So many times.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And probably more than we will ever fail. But the difference was that they didn't stop going.
Mm-hmm.
And so, failure is it's a part of the process. You're going to make mistakes. Things are going to happen. Let it roll off your back, and just keep going at it. So, I don't know, any last words of advice before we drop today?
No, just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, absolutely. Have fun. So anyways, thanks so much for joining us for episode 5 of the podcast. My name is Alex Bennett.
And I'm Robin Bennett.
We'll see you guys in the next episode.